morning everybody. This is Surajagadish Kumar M, Assistant Professor in Vignan University, Department of Chemical Engineering and Textile Technology. Today we are going to discuss about apparel costing and export documentation Unit 2 Class 5, whereas the costing of processing. Okay. So far we have discussed about various costs including weaving cost, knitting cost, and how to prepare the yarn cost, okay, how to consider the direct labor, direct material and various overheads so that cost along with a reasonable profit, that we have discussed so far. And also we understood various thumb rules for cost of yarn manufacturing, cost of fabric manufacturing, that includes both weaving and knitting. So in this class we are going to discuss about the cost of processing of fabrics. Okay. So when we say fabric processing, dyeing is the prime or most important process in terms of the finishing. So we keep dyeing as a nodal point, and also we discuss the other costs. Okay. So again, as earlier we have discussed, the job or the process based costing will be done in terms of the chemical processing. Okay. So for conversion of one goods to another goods, what are all the various chemicals which are going to be useful? Okay. Accordingly, we need to see what and all chemicals which are coming. So each component we need to take. So per unit cost we need to consider. So in terms of the dyeing cost, so there are various parameters which will affect the cost of processing that we are going to discuss. The primary one is what is the length of the fabric which should go through processing. There are various kinds of machinery like continuous pad batch machines and various other machines. In those cases, what will happen again? A continuous length of minimum of 2000 meters is required. Okay. If it is less, accordingly, the kind of mechanism or the machinery which we are going to use are going to be changed. So we need to consider those. So that's why the minimum length of 2000 meters is required while going through the processing. Sir, my process is somewhat similar, but if my order quantities are less, so what happens is it requires more lead time. Why? Because the industries generally keep in such a way that at least 2000 kg can be processed easily. So there are few other industries also, so that in that what happens, a minimum of 400 meters also can be processed. But in India, mostly they are equipped for 1000 to 2000 meters as a minimum. Okay. If the order quantity is say 15,000 to 20,000 meters, then the processing charges may be lowered. Okay, may be lowered. Why? Because they can achieve better efficiencies by doing so. So length of the fabric is one of the important parameters, means the order quantity where the dyeing should be taken place, isn't it? So that is one of the important parameters. The second parameter is the width of the fabric. Say if it is very big like 120 inches and all, may be difficult. So if the width of the fabric is double like 120 inches, the cost of processing is not double. So it is beneficial to go for the wider width fabrics rather than the fabrics with more length. Okay. Especially in terms of the processing. Why? Because it is based on the meters. Okay. So sometimes few of the costs will be based on the per kg basis, where chemical usage is more, their kg basis is higher. Apart from that, meter basis also will be there. So this is basically due to the overheads cost which is running for the material are dependent upon the length, not the width. Okay. Meter is capacity. So example like the cost of dyeing of 40 inches width poplin is say 10 rupees. Okay. The cost of dyeing of 120 inches width of fabric is only 22 rupees. Okay. So if you consider numerically, it should be 3 times, right? Like if it is 10 rupees, it must be 30 rupees. But here the overheads are less. So what happens is instead of 30 rupees, it will be only 22 rupees per meter. Understood? The wider width fabrics are preferred in case of processing or dyeing. Okay. Then the third point is the shade percentage. What sort of shade is required? Okay, lighter shades means lower costly, darker shades means higher costly. The lighter the shade, lower the cost. The amount of dye required is less, and also the time required for dyeing is also less. One is you are going to have lower time for dyeing it, and also lower chemical consumption also will be there. So that is the reason the lighter shades occupies lesser cost of dyeing than the darker shades. So for dyeing of pastel colors, if it takes 24 hours, okay, it takes 36 hours in case of very darker shades. Okay, the processing time. That means that includes the entire processing time. Understood? So the shades, okay, whether lighter shades or medium shades or darker shades, that decides maximum the amount of what you call the cost of the dyeing. Okay, generally cost of dyeing will be taking place in the case of like if you consider knitting and all, it will be per kg basis, but in case of weaving it will be again per meter basis. Isn't it? Like if you see the shade percentage, the lighter the shade, the lower the cost. The general or thumb rule for a dyeing cost will be like, in case of light colors it is 40 to 50 rupees per kg. In case of medium colors it is 60 to 75 rupees per kg. In case of darker colors it will be 80 to 100 rupees per kg. Again I am repeating, only the shade percentage is not the factor. So far we have discussed the length is also a factor, the width is also a factor, and the shade percentage is also a factor. But the shade percentage will influence mostly in terms of the cost of the dye. Okay, like if you see what are the classes of dye, like we have different kinds of dyes, right? Direct dye, reactive dye, like dispersed dye, acid dye, basic dye. Similarly, if you consider cotton and all, basically few types of dyes will be there. So in those cases, what will happen? The classes of dyes, which type of dye is going to be used? Again, so wet dyes are very good fastness. Okay, but what happens? It consists the azo components. Okay, so some dyes are very expensive, some dyes are least expensive. Okay, again cold branded dyes are comparatively expensive than the hot branded reactive dyes. Okay, so again it depends upon what is the brand's requirement or the buyer's requirement, and accordingly the type of chemicals need to be changed, and it also affects the cost of the dye. So wet dyes are more expensive than the reactive dyes, and better expertise is required for dyeing in case of wet dyes. So the same shade, the cost of fabric with wet dyes is more than with the reactive dyes, isn't it? The same shade with wet dyes and reactive dyes, both are possible, but the wet dyes is more expensive than the reactive dyes. But again, even though if it is required also, sometimes what happens, wet dyes are banned in certain countries, so we cannot use wet dyes. Similarly, this is just for example. There are various classes of dyes. Okay, so based on the class of the dye, the cost of dyeing is going to change. Okay, so the cost is also depending upon what sort of shade it is. Okay, there are very particular shades which will be there, like turquoise color and some red colors are more expensive than the other colors. So within the same dye class, same color are more expensive than the other. Okay, within the same dye class, some colors are expensive than other. Okay, so reactive itself, some colors are expensive. Wet, some colors are expensive. Understood? It depends upon the chemical constitution and how they are deriving this natural, the dye stuff, whether it is a synthetic or natural dye or how they are doing, and accordingly it is going to change. The source of the dye or the chemical company, depending upon the chemical company also, it is going to change. Like turquoise is a light bluish color. Okay, the matching color matching will be very difficult in turquoise colors. If normal light blue color is say 60 rupees per kg, turquoise may be 120 rupees per kg. Certain type of pinks are also very expensive in terms of the dye. we need to understand and have a little picture. So once you have the hands-on experience, then only you can tell that which colors are exactly more expensive and all. These are just examples, but turquoise color, if you see, it is much expensive than other general colors which are generally visible. Okay. So along with the colors, some specific shades will be there, whereas in that shades, the shade matching will be difficult. In those cases also, the manufacturers will put higher costs in case of handling those specific colors. Okay, turquoise is one of the examples. Then, this is a very interesting phenomena, metamerism. Okay, what is metamerism? Metamerism means some colors looks different under different light sources. Some colors look different under different light sources. If the shades are matched in either one or two light sources, then it is okay. Sometimes what happens, few buyers, they will ask matching of the shade under more than 2 light sources. Okay. Generally, there are 6 types of light sources. Okay. So the buyer will specify what should be the test specimen or under which light it should be measured. Sometimes what happens, we may see a light blue color under the normal tube light. Okay. The same thing when you go under the fluorescent light, what happens, it may look little reddish in color. Understood? Like grape wine color. Okay. Burgundy color. Okay. These are the colors which will have more metamerism than a simple blues or yellows. Okay. When you mix different colors, obviously depends upon the what kind of light source which is being projected onto this specimen, it is going to change. Okay. You also might have experienced in the showroom, you look a saree or a dress or a shirt with a specific color and you like it and you brought it. Okay. But when you wear it in the house, what happens? It looks little duller or sometimes it may be little different than what you thought of buying, isn't it? So even if you go to any of the shopping malls and observe, what happens, there will be having incandescent lights or fluorescent lights and special kinds of lights which will be there. So even like in jewelry stores or in terms of the shopping malls also, the kind of lighting is also going to affect what kind of appearance it is going to get. Okay, so that is referred as metamerism. I hope you have understood the concept of metamerism much earlier. So here what we are talking about, the matching of the colors under which light is going to change the cost of the colors or coloring process, isn't it? Say we have discussed that there are 6 different types of light sources, right? So in that, the one is natural daylight as like D65. Okay. Another one is tube light TL83, and then horizon or yellow light is produced during the sunlight, means similar to sunlight. Then incandescent light, INCA, then fluorescent light CWF, and then ultraviolet light, that is UL30. So these are the generally used 6 light sources which will be specified during the order giving or something like that, so that depending upon the buyer and all, which light source it should be used, that also will be there. So what happens, any shade and all under one light, it is easy to match, but sometimes what happens, it is very tricky situation, and here the technical expertise of the technical people like the textile engineers like you and all. So here the actual thing will come. So based on your experience and all, in order to match the specific shade, what should be the combination? Okay, so that it will also match D65 and also TL83 and also INCA. Understood? So 1 or 2 light matching is okay, but some buyers would specify maybe more than or around 4 light sources. Then what happens? The process making will be much difficult. In those cases, what will happen in the small time manufacturers and all, they will raise hands. Sorry, Baba, we cannot proceed with your order. Why? Because your shade matching process is very difficult. We cannot keep up with them. Okay. In those cases and all, what happens? The experienced people, of course, the material may be same, but due to this expertise and all, the money which they are going to expect or they are going to charge for this dyeing process will be much higher. Understand? So that is the reason even we also having color matching cabinet, right? Okay, we have a premier color. Similarly, there is other machine also data color. Okay, so yes, these will help us in terms of matching properly. But the metamerism is going to have very high impact in terms of the costing process. Preliminarily, in choosing the vendor itself, there are few manufacturers they cannot handle more than 2 light source matching. Okay, but sometimes they will go with 3 and 4 also. It is as an industry practice. Okay. Yes, we will come back to our original topic. The cost of dyeing is also depending upon the metamerism. Okay. Then the weight of the fabric. Okay. Lighter the fabric, quicker is the dye pickup. So the dyeing time will be saved. Heavy GSM fabrics and all, it occupies more time for dyeing. Okay. So your efficiencies may come down or you may need to invest more money on it. So lower GSM fabrics and heavier GSM fabrics. Even though you are charging on per kg basis, the lower GSM may attract lower costs than higher GSM fabrics may attract higher cost of dyeing. So capacity of the machine are expressed on kg basis. You know that MLR, right? Material to liquor ratio. Say if the fabrics is having more GSM, so obviously what will happen? More GSM means more weight of the material, obviously which leads to more liquor ratio, more dye pickup and all those things. Yeah. So similarly, it should be, what happens is less length only can be processed in one lot. Okay. So in lighter weight fabrics, more length of material can be processed at a time, so the dyeing cost is reduced. Okay. Earlier we also discussed width of the fabric is going to affect the cost. Okay. Similarly, weight of the fabric is also going to affect. Length of the fabric is minimum should be 2000 meters. It is like a only constraint, but it is not a proportionate change. But when it is more than 15,000 and all, it may be opted for some sort of discount. Okay. Yeah. So the other parameters are there, like all these prices which we are discussing under is in the range of, for a minimum order quantity of 1500 to 2000 meters. If the quantity is less, say 4000 meters itself, then obviously 400 meters itself, then what will happen? The cost again increases. So this principle applies for all yarn dyed fabrics also. Generally, higher the order quantity, lower will be the price. Lower the order quantity, higher will be the price. Isn't it? So some of the pastel shades are dyed in Procyon cold dyes and medium and dark shades are dyed in hot reactive dyes. Understood? Depending upon the type of shade, okay, again the cost of dyeing is going to change. Now we will discuss some of the finishing. Means apart from dyeing also there are various other processes. We will discuss some of them. I hope you got some clarity. Like lighter shades, the dyeing cost is around 50 rupees per kg. Medium shades 70 to 80 rupees per kg. Darker shades around 100 rupees per kg. Okay. So if you say, sir, I am going for bleaching also, what is the cost? If it is okay to go for chlorine type of bleaching, then it will be around 12 to 13 rupees per kg. Okay, again this data is somewhat old, the updated prices may be little different. Just to give you some sort of idea, we are discussing about this. The chlorine bleaching may be 12 to 13 rupees per kg. But if the buyer is specified that it should not be, it should be chlorine free so that the fastness properties will be better and it will provide very bright shades and all. So you want only peroxide bleaching. In that case, what will happen? The bleaching cost is going to increase by 24 to 35 rupees per kg. 24 rupees to 35 rupees per kg. That is 2 to 3 times higher than the chlorine based bleaching. Chlorine based bleaching is is expensive. Peroxide bleaching is expensive, isn't it? Normal chlorine based is 12 to 13 rupees per kg, whereas peroxide bleaching is 24 to 35 rupees per kg. That means 2 to 3 times higher, isn't it? Yeah. Similarly, mercerization. Yeah. What is the need of mercerization? Mercerization is a process where the cotton will be treated with alkali under stressed condition. Okay. So this will result in softness, lustrous, and more absorbency also. So it will reduce the dyeing cost. Okay. By means of going through mercerization, dyeing cost will be reduced, isn't it? By going through mercerization, dyeing cost will be reduced. Okay. So approximate cost of mercerization is itself 45 to 50 rupees per kg. But even though if it reduces by 15 to 20% in case of dyeing, so that is hardly 20 rupees or 25 rupees. Okay. So since it is obviously it is an additional cost of processing itself, but still what happens is it will give improved feel, improved strength, improved absorbency, improved lustre of the fabrics. So there are various advantages of mercerization. But only thing we need to take care is that, so if it is being processed, it should be under the same process, means same mill. Okay. If mercerization and dyeing is given to the same person, then what happens? He will quote the least prices. Otherwise, what will happen? The mercerization people also will take good amount of money, and dyeing people also will charge good amount for the fabric processing. So that's why we need to take care that both the mercerization and dyeing should be taken care in the same industry. Okay. Sometimes what happens, the mercerization is done at one stage and dyeing is, so that it increases the unnecessary costs for the processing. Yeah. You understood, right? Mercerization is an important value addition process. So it could charge around 45 to 50 rupees per kg to process. Then similarly there are various other finishings are there. Okay. So these are like per meter basis, like flame retardant finish, application of flame retardant finish. These are not normally done for all the fabrics. It is a specific case to case basis. Okay. In case of a flame retardant finish, it is around, we could say around 15 rupees per meter. 15 rupees per meter. Similarly, a anti-static finish, 5 rupees per meter. Where, sir, why anti-static finish will be used? You must be already knowing, right? So, in order to repel the dust, okay, if the anti-static finish is not given, the static electricity which is going to get produced in the fabrics will attract more dust and dirt, isn't it? So, in order to reduce it, it will be treated with an anti-static finish. So, it will attract additional 5 rupees per meter. Anti-strain finish, similarly, okay, 10 rupees per meter, 10 rupees per meter, 10 rupees going to be like a sandfrising finish, anti-stain finish. Sorry, anti-stain means Teflon coated and all, so that what will happen if you drop anything, it will not attract. Okay, the surface will be already stabilized. Then ETI finish or anti-wrinkle finish, it also will attract around 5 rupees per meter. Okay, I hope in garment dyeing, printing and embroidery subject you understood all the purposes of these subjects. Okay, and also in textile wet processing and various other subjects also you have understood the concept of these finishes. Okay, just I am giving you an idea of how much it is going to cost on per meter basis. Why? Because in terms of the garment costing, you should have an idea how much it will cost. Okay, so anti-wrinkle 5 rupees, anti-stain 10 rupees, anti-static finish 5 rupees per meter, flame retardant finish 15 rupees per meter. Similarly, in case sometimes what happens, additional softeners will be added. If softener is added in the jigger and after dyeing, then the cost will be 10 rupees per kg will be more. 10 rupees per kg, not meter. If it is done on a separate machine, then it will be done for a 20 rupees higher. So the quality of the fabric is better in second case as the cover is better and there is no shrinkage later. Means the addition of softener as a separate process, not along with the jigger. Okay. Of course, it will reduce the cost, but what happens is the shrinkage may be a problem. If it is done as a separate process, the shrinkage problem can be rectified. Okay. So that is the advantage of this one. Then other things which are like specifically for knitting and all, compacting will be done. Compacting. For a tubular knitted fabric, around 8 rupees per kg, and for open width fabrics, 14 rupees per kg. Okay, tubular knitted fabrics, 8 rupees per kg, and open width, 14 rupees per kg. Isn't it? Why? Because the slitting machine also will come into the picture. That is also included in compacting. Okay, 14 rupees per kg in case of compacting. Okay. So, sir, what is the need of compacting? Compacting means, so as like crimp in terms of weaving, so there will be residual stress in terms of the knitted structures also. It might attract too much shrinkage. So once it is compacted, slightly the GSM can be increased, and it is like a heat treatment so that the further shrinkage can be avoided through the compacting machines. And slight alteration of GSM also is possible with the compacting machine. Then the next process is, a few more processes are there. Raising. Raising means it is like upbraiding on the surface so that the hairiness will be created. Okay, nowadays it is fashion, right? The hairiness will be created. So there are generally two types. One is referred as napping and another one is referred as sewing. Okay, both includes the abrasion. One is like wire type, another one is either the metallic paper or some type of diamond coating finishes. So peach finish, this also is referred as peach finish, peaching and raising. Okay, so if it is in the bulk, approximately 12 rupees per kg we can consider. If it is a diamond finish, diamond peaching and all, it is more expensive. Okay. So when we are talking about all these things, the very important point we should consider is the amount of shrinkage and wastage percentages in terms of the processing. It is very important to understand this. Generally, what happens is around 5 to 7% is gone in terms of shrinkage and also wastage. Shrinkage and also wastage. Wastage may be around 3% and around 5% shrinkage is acceptable. Understood? We need to consider this shrinkage also at process. Otherwise, what will happen? We might end up in the loss. Okay. Obviously, it is going to shrink, right? So we need to take 1040 meters if we need only 1000 meters. This 4% is like extra. Understood? Similarly, both includes wastage and shrinkage. 5 to 7% is normal. 5 to 7% is acceptable and okay. So again, it depends upon the type of fabric. In case of like poplin and sheetings and all, 3% shrinkage is okay. Cotton voile structure or cambric structure where highly twisted fabrics, highly twisted yarns which are made into fabrics and all, and high density, so around 5%. Polyester viscose blend or fiber dyed, 4.5 to 5%. Polyester viscose piece dyed, around 6%. 100% grey polyester, not spun, filament which is converted. Then the shrinkage might go up to 20%. So depending upon the type of fabric also, the shrinkage is going to change. So the person who is responsible for costing should have a approximate idea with respect to the shrinkage also. Isn't it? Yeah. So if you take an example in this case, say for an interlock fabric, the cost of yarn per kg if you consider as 150 rupees. Okay. So the knitting charges are 17 rupees. So wastage at knitting maybe 0.5%, 0.84. So the grey fabric cost is coming to be 167. Okay, that we are clear with. So we have added bleaching for it. So per kg 40 rupees. Then wastage at bleaching is around 10%. So the cost is coming to 20 rupees additional. So the cost of the bleaching fabric is coming to be 228. Before, grey fabric is 167. After bleaching, it is coming to 228 per meter. Then the fabric dyeing cost, maybe per kg around 55. Then wastage at dyeing, okay, around 5%, so 17. Then the dyed fabric is 240 rupees per kg. 240 rupees per kg. Okay. If it is without bleaching, okay, directly dyeing is done, okay, then it is 240 rupees. Then a special finishing charges, maybe around 25 rupees. Then wastage around 2%, so fabric cost is 270. Then maybe printing is there on this top of this fabric, maybe 55, around wastage. Then after printing, it may be around 345. Okay, understood? So this is the glimpse of the fabric costing. So the cost of fabric is cost of grey fabric plus dyeing charges plus finishing charges and addition of shrinkage and addition of wastages. So all this together comes to the cost of fabric. Understood? The finished or processed fabric cost. Okay. So we reached to the end of the class. So in this class we have discussed about various processes which can be done once the fabric is manufactured from the grey state. From the grey state, various processes and their approximate or the normal costings which we have discussed. I hope we learned something new today, and hope you have enjoyed listening to this class. So please let me know your views and any queries which are there. So thank you for patient listening. Bye.